So the big question is this: what is life like on tour when you're playing professional golf? Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's tough. That's the question, and this is the podcast that's going to give you the answer. Welcome to Tales of the Tour on Stock Shot Secrets. All right, roomies, we are back for tour life. Do you guys like that, roomies?
I like roomies. Roomies, roommates. They're the roomies. Golf room, roomies.
I'm trying to think of like a really cool name for you guys.
Yeah, I like roomies.
In the town of Stockshotville.
Oh, the roomies.
Yeah.
All these roommates.
We get t-shirts. We should get t-shirts.
We already have t-shirts. Kyle comes up with a new t-shirt idea like every other day.
They're so good, though.
They are good, but we just got to space them out. We don't need to do them all at once.
All right, so we're going through the series called Tour Life, where my beloved wife, who I adore and I love so much, we are going through the series kind of reminiscing on all these stories because there are so many epic, funny stories. And
it's
I think
just a time in life when I don't think
the summer of love.
It was the summer of love.
Summers of love.
Summers of love. Hooters Tour Prom.
I forgot about Hooters Tour Prom.
There's a lot. I mean, they're just stories that I don't think the average couple has.
Yeah, and at the time of this releasing of this podcast, this is it's the January episode, or is it January or December? It would be the December release of Golf Digest. Mm-hmm. Page 84. Mm-hmm. I have a photographic memory.
Which Kyle's also in there for one of the best teachers in the state of Ohio.
Thank you, babe. But it's page 84, and it talks about the stories of many tour players in Scottsdale, and it is like spot on with Mountain Shadows, Skins Game, Papago, and Talking Stick. Which, by the way, for those people that are listening to this, the picture that is that we show of on the way to Stock Shot Mountain of me carrying my cone and my noodle is you in the car going, What a tool bag.
Nerd alert.
I'm going to take a picture of this nerd.
And he's at Talking Stick. He's walking onto the range.
Walking on the range because I'm that guy. Which you guys are that guy too. Right? Yeah. The roomies. Yeah. So now we've moved. In the last episode, we talked about just the origin story of how we met, and we just got married. We're moving west, and I find it to be a really good idea to go to my home club, which I will not name, and do a fundraiser. Now, if you guys want a piece of advice of when to not do a fundraiser, it is on the day the markets crash in a recession.
This is fall 2008.
That's a good day to not do it.
Because you're a tour player and it's expensive.
So expensive.
So it's not like where you're playing basketball or football where they're paying you to play. You have to pay to play.
Yeah, so a lot of people say, crazy. I actually had this, and I know that there is roomies that are listening to this thinking, like, how do you turn pro in golf? Like, what is that? You say I'm turning pro, and you basically are saying I'm now going to be an organized professional gambler.
And live essentially out of the back
is
of my car.
Live out the back of my car.
And eat Subway every day.
Yeah, it's sick. So I try to go do.
You have this fundraiser.
I have the fundraiser.
Raise a little bit of money.
Yeah, a little bit, but basically
not enough to cover what your goals are. Yeah.
1 week.
Yeah.
So
fast forward, we're now in Arizona.
Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about with that, like, maybe you could tell, like, what did a normal week look like when we traveled?
So typically the tournaments would start on Monday, practice rounds Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Pro-Am on Wednesday. We'd usually come into town on Sunday. Kyle lived at the golf course. I mean, getting him off of the course was
I love golf.
Torture. I mean, I'd be like, let's go hang out and just look at each other. We're newlyweds.
No, I need to practice.
No, we're newlyweds at this time. We're only married for like 2 months and total newlyweds. So I'm like, let's just go sit and stare at each other. And he's like, let me go hit some golf balls. And I'm like, but I love you. And we're learning to live together on the road too. As a married couple, we had never lived together before. I mean, hung out in college, but like we're learning to literally be husband and wife.
And it's expensive. So like we have no money. At the time we have no money. So I'm sitting there and I go, I got to get some money. Like this isn't going to work out. So this was probably the first hint of like some entrepreneurial spirit. I'm sure there's other parts of it if I reflect on it. But I say I need to get some investors because
at this time, and I wasn't going to come out on tour with you. I was planning to stay back in Scottsdale, work. I have an events background, obviously a culinary background, and I was doing event planning and everything. Well, the first thing to go after a session is everyone saying, hey, I don't have any money to plan a Christmas party or event, so I could not find a job. So Kyle heads out.
Yeah, so one of my good friends growing up, really my father's good friend was who many of you guys will know is Larry Zonko. So Larry Zonko was the running back for the Miami Dolphins when they went undefeated, Hall of Famer. I think he's like one of 2 guys left that are still alive
in the Hall of Fame.
Well, not in the Hall of Fame, but
shows how much I know about sports.
One of 2 guys alive from that 1972 undefeated season.
Got it.
I think it was 1972. So anyway, so Larry Zonka is just a little bit of the backstory of how these investors started to kind of roll in, because you need money, right? Like these, to kind of put it in perspective, the entry fee to play in a Hooters Tour event, $1,300. You got a hotel room. You know, at that time, we were staying at like Motel 8s and like Quality Inns that were like Qualities. It's the Quality.
We were staying at lower tier hotels for sure.
$80. Like we were not staying at Holiday Inn at $129. That was like way too much money.
No.
So something around $80, $90.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. If we could, La Quinta Inn. So you're doing La Quinta Inns for, call it $100. So now that's $700.
You got $40 a day to spend on food.
Yeah, we give ourselves $40 a day. So you got 40 times 7, right? So now you're at $280. You got $700 in hotel rooms, $1,300 in entry fees, plus travel to get there and gas, blah, 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 $3,000.
And we're not flying. That's the one point. We drive cross country and his SUV, so it has a third row, and it is
not
literally...
Not the Cougar with no air conditioning.
Yeah, not the Cougar. His car is like literally packed. A third row, a 3-row long SUV packed. And then the second year, didn't we get we had the rooftop carrier. That was strictly for his golf stuff. But we have his car. His car is like completely packed to the brim because we're leaving town in March, April, and we're not coming back to Scottsdale until November. So we're taking clothes for all seasons.
We're living out of our car.
Living out of our car. Driving cross country, so that saves some money.
Yeah, so we're looking at $3,000 a week. Yeah. So I'm like, I got to get some money. So
and driving tournament to tournament.
So I call a favor with Larry, and luckily Larry had a favor that he had with Jack Nicklaus. So Jack Nicklaus was supposed to speak at the World Golf Hall of Fame once, and he couldn't show up, which is unfortunate for the people that wanted to go, but. He calls Larry, because Larry lived not too far from there, and says, "Hey, Larry, I need you," because they were fishing buddies and so on and so forth, and says, "I need you to fill in for me at the World Golf Hall of Fame." So obviously the people who are there are happy that Larry's there, and he's great. Nothing against Larry, but if you're trying to get World Golf Hall of Fame and Jack Nicklaus is supposed to show up and Larry, it's like, wah, wah, right?
Deuces.
So Jack owed Larry a favor. So by the grace of God, I became the favor. So what happened is I had scheduled a meeting with Jack.
Through Larry
had set up the week of the Memorial Tournament. So I go to Jack's house at 10 o'clock.
This is June 2009.
Yeah, May 2009.
Is it? No, is it? Or 2008? Is this before we got married?
I forget. I think it was 2009.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway, so I go to Jack's house the week of the Memorial and sit down with him for 2 hours. I mean, with the best player in the world. And this was really the start of where the stock shot originated, in the fact that I talked to Jack about Mr. Nicklaus about a lot of things. And there was a lot of things that he said to me that I'll never forget. But the 2 things that like stuck in my brain like glue were, Kyle, you need to have a predictable stock shot like I have. And he went into this whole tangent about he played in I don't know what U.S. Open was, but he was like, I tried to hit a shot on the 17th hole at a par 5, and I tried to hit a shot that wasn't my stock shot, and I over-curved the line and win the water. I lost by 2, and I vowed at that moment I'm never hitting a different shot other than the stock shot. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need a stock shot. Sweet. Stock shot mountain, roomies. All right. So he says that, and then he says practice by mechanics and play by feel, which is really kind of like the start of this program, Block Random Compete, which we don't need to get into.
Yeah, because I know nothing about it.
Yeah. So I go with Larry, and Larry meets me with Jack Nicklaus, but then Larry gets on board to be one of my investors. So he's giving me a sum of money, which basically, when you're talking about a mini tour player, you probably need somewhere between, if you want to really scrape by, you probably need about $35,000.
And that's for just you.
Just me.
Not a spouse or any children coming along.
But I think I'm going to put my sales hat on. And I was able to raise like almost a little over six figures a year.
Yeah.
It was good.
Kyle is pretty unique in that.
So,
we had a unique deal,
yeah, but I mean, it was all accounted for with the every dollar was getting spent on the golf course traveling. We still, even with
pinched pennies.
Yeah, 35, like you were not able to do what you needed to do. And my take, which is kind of like a point of life, is always like, listen, if you're going to do it, then do it. Like, it's pretty hard to be like they talk about in that Golf Digest article, dudes that are scrubbing hooks and cleaning carts, and then they're mini tour players, and it's like, nah, like this has got to be a full-time job.
Yeah.
Right? So I was working back then like I am working now, but just on golf. So, I mean, you went
to the course in the morning.
Yeah, I was working out at 6 and working out and then playing and then working out again and then coming home and listen to music and watch Lesley make dinner and watch Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Right. So, at 80, 90, 100 grand, it still was not
to do everything you wanted to do, which was like literally every tournament under the sun.
Yeah.
Most guys are just playing in the tournaments that they can afford.
Right.
And they're Monday qualifiers.
Right. So we go, I go and I get Larry on, I get a handful of other gentlemen on who I am forever indebted to. They are just amazing human beings.
Super supportive. Supportive of me coming with you.
Yeah, with what they're doing. But I'm still needing like to compete, and it's taking a while because getting those investors does not happen like in a blink of an eye, right? Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying this episode of the Stock Shot Secrets podcast. If you are enjoying it, be sure to like this episode. Be sure to subscribe so you can always see when they're coming out. And most importantly, if you would be so kind to be able to share this podcast with other passionate golfers who are trying to get better and build stock shots, because it grows through you sharing it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And now back to Stock Shot Secrets. So, how I would get by when we moved to Arizona is I joined TBC Scottsdale, right? Mm-hmm. And Scottsdale was great to live in, especially as a young couple and figuring out.
It's like golf mecca of the U.S. plus like mini tour.
Yeah, mini tour
City,
celebrities
USA.
And great food. And
I mean, every mini tour guy lives out there. I mean, that Golf Digest article basically says that's the same thing.
So I go out there and I start playing with these group of 3 guys, and one of them is like so competitive, and we're playing and we start gambling because this guy is just like so competitive. He's like, let's play for money.
You're gambling for money that you don't have, with money you don't have.
Right. Can I pay an IOUs
or hugs? I really
hope
this works out.
Will you take a Cougar with no air conditioning? So
that's where Adler gets it. Adler gambled away the golf room a couple weeks ago.
Aaron told me this morning we owe $72,000 to Aaron.
How did Adler?
I don't know. He lost the putt, missed the putt.
Okay, so Adler, but a couple weeks ago he was playing with Kyle Mitchell, and he bet on the golf room, and Adler lost.
That's great.
So he has your gambling.
Kyle's
really not a gambler, I should say, but I mean, you like to gamble for things you don't really have, like Adler. Thinks he owns the golf room.
Yeah.
Adler's our son.
Yeah, he's the best. Oh, what a bro.
Awesome.
Anyways, so I start playing golf with these group of guys. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, I kind of see them on the range and whatever. I'm like, okay, like I'm way better than these guys. And I was like, how much you guys want to play for? And they're like, hey, we'll just play $100 like $100 auto one downs, which is like when you're down one hole, like press, which means it's another bet. I'm like, okay, like how many strokes do you want? And this guy who I'm playing with, he's like, I don't want strokes. I don't take strokes. And I was like, okay, like this is literally like
ballsy.
Me. Yeah, this is like taking candy from a baby.
Yeah.
So we'd play and I win like whatever, $600. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just made $600 today. This is ridiculous. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Right. And then the next day we play again, like does it again. Next day again. But after the first day, these people are coming up to him and they're like, hey man, can I have your autograph? And I'm like, kind of having clueless Kyle moments.
Yeah. Why don't they want my autograph?
Yeah, Lesley calls me clueless Kyle because sometimes my brain's thinking about other things and I'm just in La La Land. This is one of those moments where we're having lunch at TBC Scottsdale and these people are coming up to him and saying, hey, can I have not me have your autograph, but hey, can I have your autograph, Grant? And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Okay, so I kind of like whatever. I space out. Next day, hey, another people. Hey, Grant, can I have your autograph? You're amazing. And that this time I'm like,
who is
this guy? But it's kind of starting to make. What are you doing? I never knew what you're doing over there, right? So I'm like, Grant, like, why are they asking for your autograph? And he's like, are you bleeping kidding me?
You jerk face.
And I'm like, no, bro. Like, why are they asking for your autograph? He goes, my name's Grant Fuhr. Now, if you don't know who Grant Fuhr is basically the all-time greatest goalie ever in the NHL and won like 97 Stanley Cups. So it'd be like, in enough in the world, it'd be like me playing golf with Wayne Gretzky. Yeah. And I'm like, Wayne, why are people asking for your
Who are you?
thing? And they're like, you are clueless, Kyle.
Yeah.
Right? So, but God bless Grant. Like, the dude he'd play me all the time and so competitive. But
and he'd be like, let's play.
He lost a lot of money. But it was so
Thanks,
fun.
Grant.
Yeah. Love you.
We needed that.
Right? Because he kept us.
We paid our rent.
Right. So now, let's fast forward to going to our first event that you came as a wife, right?
Lake Norman.
What?
Lake Norman?
Well, yeah, so we go to Lake Norman.
Yes.
Was it Lake Norman before Cherry Blossom?
You left. Lake Norman was before Cherry Blossom. This was my very first tournament. You had left. I was still trying to look for a job. Couldn't find a job. And you're like, you know what? Just come out for the weekend. So I fly out.
Yeah.
And you're staying with Rhett Graham. And at his family's condo right on Lake Norman. And we shack up there for the weekend. And it was such a blast and get to meet all the guys that you've now gotten to know on Hooters tour.
Because you basically become like a little bit of a family out there. Yeah. Like, you got no one else, so it's like...
You're traveling week to week with these people.
Yeah.
And
rooming with them, and you're kind of like,
doing life with them.
You want to stay in the same hotel room even though I just met you?
Yeah. We never stayed in hotel rooms with other people. Only one other couple. But,
did we? Who was that?
The Moores.
That
was...
Jay Moore. We should call Jay Moore and get them on.
We got to get Jay Moore and Claire on.
That'd be epic.
They are... national treasures for sure. So yeah, I fly out to Conover and come and watch you. We meet the Bockies are there with Odell, and we just hang. I mean, I think we all missed the cut.
That was the week in which we were, because they were right on Lake Norman, and I go.
You missed the cut. You and Rhett both missed the cut. So we're like, let's go have lunch.
Yeah, we went to lunch, and then I was like, so the lunch, and obviously I like to do things.
It's right at this marina. We're right on the water,
and I like to not play by the rules. So I go, you guys can walk around. I'm just going to swim.
We're at a lunch on a marina, and we're walking back on the dock, and it's a cove, and you have to walk all the way around it. And Kyle and Rhett are like, hey, let's swim across the cove.
It's not that far.
It's not that far. They jump in the water. I'm holding their shirts. I continue to walk. I have all these pictures.
Far.
And they get like halfway through, and they're like going into cardiac arrest because they totally
help me.
Yeah, you guys misjudged how long of a swim this was.
Because it doesn't look that far when you're looking at like over a span of water. Yeah. It's kind of like when you talk on water, like you can hear someone like way further away, which is that's science. I just don't understand.
So
they're
science, like halfway through.
Yeah, so I go there. I'm dying, and then I get out.
And then doesn't a dog jump in the water and like claw you to death?
Oh yeah.
Some guy, he was going in for a tennis ball. Someone threw a ball in. I have a picture of this dog jumping in the water, and he's like drowning you.
So I basically get out of the water. I've got bleeding scratch marks all over my chest. And I literally can't hit a ball for 2 days because my lats are so sore. I can't lift my arms above my shoulders.
So we stay there that weekend. Okay, do you remember we had a barbecue that night? We had a bunch of golfers over. The Bockies came over. And Blake.
Yes.
Blake Moore?
Blake Moore. Lots of Moores. Blake's, Moores, and Kyle's. Yeah.
So Blake Moore was big into CrossFit this time. I think this was like the start of CrossFit. And I remember one morning, he was like, come on, guys, let's work out. Yeah. And I'm just watching you.
At this point, I am not working out.
You guys are right there.
Well, I was kind of working out, but
you guys are, and he's doing burpees. And I remember this is like the first time I'd ever heard burpees.
Yeah,
and the
too.
three of you are right there in the grass, the lake's behind you working out. And I'm like, you guys are nuts. Because I don't work out.
So we go to Lake Norman, then we go up to Cherry Blossom. So that's when your parents come, right?
Yeah,
so
we go to Cherry Blossom.
We go to Cherry Blossom which is in Kentucky, right? So we're playing
your
the NGA.
Your parents come down, my parents come down.
We're playing the NGA Hooters, the Irish Tour.
Yeah.
Right. So
now we've officially decided that I'm going to travel with you.
Right.
Because we're like, we cannot be newlyweds and live away from each other.
And for us, to be frank, it was more about you and I having happiness and being together than being apart.
We will live out of
and
our
Lesley,
car to make
every
it work.
marriage couple is different, but I've actually been saying this quite a bit. I think it's because you're working full time at TGR, which is a whole podcast episode in itself, and how much you're killing it. But we do way better when together and like all the time than apart. So,
well, I think our relationship started out with us together 24/7.
Yeah.
So I just think that that's how our relationship started, and that's just how we work.
Yeah, and everybody's different, right? So
we're at Cherry Blossom. Your mom and dad
we're at Cherry
came down,
Blossom.
my
So
mom and dad.
we're there. We're playing a tournament, and it starts pouring rain, right? And remind you that Lesley knows just about nothing about golf.
And do not care.
Right. And remember, if you date back to the Governor's Open, I say I shoot 63, and she's like, sick.
Sweet. We're going to go to dinner.
Where are we going
I'm
to dinner?
hungry. I'm always thinking about food.
Yeah. You love thinking about food when you're on the golf course, which is that's why you're a chef.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
It'd be like it would be like 100 degrees, and I'd be like, I want a bowl of spaghetti.
Yeah, at 7:30 in the morning.
Carbs. I don't know why. Weird.
Crazy. So we're playing in this tournament. It's raining. I think it's round one. It's round one.
Okay.
And it starts pouring down rain on the 17th hole. 16th hole, because it was the one back by the bush. It was on the OB. I could see it. It was a short par 4. That thing. I go, sweetheart, come over here. You're like, what? What? You were about as nervous as you were coming on this podcast the first time. And you're like, what do you want me to do? I go,
because I'm a rule follower.
Yeah.
You're like, hold the umbrella over my clubs and don't let my clubs get wet. And I'm like,
keep up and shut up.
This is illegal. I'm not allowed to do this.
I'm like, yes, you are.
This is a professional event. I could not be here holding this.
Yeah, so I'm like, just hold the umbrella and follow along and
next thing you know, I'm carrying the bag and I'm like,
yeah. So that day goes by in the rain and we talk about it. So then she comes back on day 2. So day 2, I'm like, hey, you did pretty good. It's kind of rainy again. Like, just hold the umbrella over the clubs. And she's like, okay. So we play. And then at the end, I'll never forget, I play back on 18. It's either 18 or 9, but I end on that hole, par 5, water on the left, right, for the second shot. I had to drive down the middle. I hit a 3-wood up to the side, right? I got like 40 yards.
It's crazy. I mean, I remember some shots of some holes, but I mean, the fact that you can remember every single, you could go through your entire pro career and you can like literally play it over in your head all 4 days. It's crazy.
So I hit the drive, hit the 3-wood out to the right, pins in the front. I hit it to like 8 feet. It's kind of rainy. You're holding the umbrella still. Miss the putt.
And I'm not doing much more than that. I'm just keeping the clubs dry, keeping you dry. I know nothing else.
Yes.
I don't even know basically when to hand him the putter. At this time, I don't. I learned a couple rounds.
So you can imagine, like, you're trying to, if any of you guys like have kids or wives or whatever, and you're trying to, or maybe you have a husband who doesn't play golf or whatever, but you're trying to teach etiquette to a caddy and teach them golf course etiquette. Where like, hey, you can't stand on top of the hole.
Yeah.
You need to walk around the hole. Like, you can't.
Which is huge.
Yeah, you can't talk when people are talking. So
I knew that.
Learning all the etiquette, right? So long story short, so I missed this 8-footer to miss the cut by 1. And Lesley, now remind you, Lesley did not know anything about golf, and she on the 18th just starts.
Well, I'm like,
bawling.
did we make the cut?
No, I did it. Yeah, did we?
Wait, was this to miss the cut?
I missed the cut.
Missed the cut. This is Friday. This is Friday afternoon.
Yeah, Friday. And she just starts bawling on the green. Like,
work so hard. We work so hard.
And I'm like, oh, sweetheart, I'm going to miss so many putts. And she's like, but we're so broke. We need money too.
Because the money that you had raised to play with was to play with.
Yeah,
your earnings are what went to pay for.
Correct. We didn't eat.
Yeah.
If we didn't make money.
Yeah, I mean.
So we're not eating for the next week. Not really, but
we're eating Subway. We're going skinny on it.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, for those listening, I mean, a nice dinner out, like really nice, really, really nice was Carrabba's.
Yeah.
Like, that was like, we're going, I'm taking you out to Carrabba's, baby.
Yeah, you got your free bread or chips and salsa at the Mexican restaurant to fill you up.
Chips and salsa.
We ate lots of Mexican on the road. Lots of Subway,
which
lots
is
of
why
Mexican.
I was so fat when I was playing, which is crazy.
By the end of year 1, we were plump.
Little pork chops.
So now I'm invested.
Right. So
you missed this cut. And on missed cuts, I mean, typically, I don't know, did we go home that weekend? A lot of times he would maybe stay and practice at the course. We'd stay at the hotel. Sometimes we'd go shack up in a cabin. We loved heading down to Gatlinburg, deep in the woods there for a little cabin trip.
Yeah.
Of course, the cheapest cabin we could find.
Right.
But so you missed the cut.
Yeah. And then
that's the first real taste of how this is going to go down.
Right. So missing cuts on the bag. Now what's happened is you have decided that, hey, I was like basically top of my class at the French Culinary Institute. studying to potentially become a sommelier.
Yeah.
And now I'm hoofing it with this guy who I'm now married to and deciding to caddy in 110-degree heat. And I just want a
and bags are loaded down with water and food and rain gear. And
you just want
heavy.
You just want a bowl of pasta.
I want a bowl of pasta. I don't know why I always crave carbs.
Right? And it started. So, like, this is the beginning of Tour Life. You're now in. Like,
I'm invested.
There's no turning back. So.
Year one, I'm invested.
All right, so we'll break there for this episode of Tour Life. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like these little episode stories, it would be amazing if you could go below, like this episode, share it with somebody because it's super funny, right? Or maybe some person that's always wanting to know what it's like as on Tour Life, right? Make it to the PGA Tour. And thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys back here for Stock Shot Secrets. Hey, thank you so much for listening to the latest episode of Stock Shot Secrets. I would love to invite you to Columbus to come see me and hang out with me and build a personalized plan for you and your game. If you would want more information about building your personalized plan and coming to Columbus and hanging out, just email us at info@thegolfroom.com and we will get back to you and set your visit for an epic red carpet experience at TGR in Columbus, Ohio.